This next game might not have playoff implications, but make no mistake about it. When Florida State and Miami square off in one of the most talent-rich states in the country, it's always a game with a lot on the line. So let's welcome in our friend Gaby Urrutia from InsideTheU.com. Gaby, the recruiting battles between the in-state rivals has been fascinating to watch. And on Saturday, Florida State and Miami will take their fight to the field. So how much does this game play a role in who wins on the recruiting trail?
Yeah, I mean, Miami, Florida State, I mean, they're recruiting the same guys oftentimes, and there are going to be a lot of guys in the stands at Hard Rock Stadium that both schools want, that Miami, Florida State, Mario Cristobal, Mike Norvell. These guys are kind of going after it, attacking each other on the recruiting trail. So, I think it could have some sort of implications to some guys. I do think that what Miami and Mario Cristobal are doing maybe goes beyond what happens on Saturday. We're seeing that with the recruiting class that they're putting together. They lose to a Duke team, get blown out. A few days later, they pick up a commitment from five-star Kormani McLean. I think Miami's doing what they're doing on the recruiting trail right now, regardless of the on-field product. It's kind of unprecedented. You don't see it very often, but this is year one of that tenure, and they're really excited. They're building some serious momentum, and I think there's a lot of buy-in to what they're building behind the scenes. So I think a lot of these kids are still looking at the future of the program, what's still ahead for Miami, not necessarily what's happening on Saturday, but it's Miami, Florida State. I mean, it's going to have all the eyes of the people down here in the Sunshine State. So definitely a big-time matchup.
Gaby, the eyes of four-star corner Demari Brown will be on Miami. He took an official visit to Florida State last month. He's in Miami this weekend for his official visit, named a top 4 earlier this week. But you have a crystal ball prediction in for the Canes. How much do you like that pick right now?
Yeah, I like it, man. I like Demari Brown. I think that, his dad played at the University of Miami, won a national championship at the University of Miami. So, I do think Miami's done a really good job recruiting him here, really just wire to wire. He's the guy that they identified a little bit earlier on in the process. Jamal Aday, the defensive backs coach who Miami got from Georgia, DeMarcus Van Dyke, who's an off-field, analyst that's really, really involved in defensive back recruiting, have really prioritized Demari Brown. They've gotten him on campus multiple times over the course of the spring, over the summer. He's already been to like 2 or 3 Miami games already this fall. He'll take an official visit. They feel good about where they're at right now, but we're talking Miami, Florida State. Florida State's another one of those finalists, and so, he's going to get a chance to watch both schools on Saturday for sure.
Miami currently has 19 commitments on board in 2023 with the class led by last week's surprising commitment of the number 2 player in the class, Kormani McLean. You mentioned him. All signs pointed toward the Gators. So, Gaby, how did Cristobal pull that off?
Yeah, I think this is just a Mario Cristobal special. I mean, this staff feels most comfortable working in the shadows. I think they're hoping to pull a couple more stunners like this cycle. I don't think that they're done, working on some guys that maybe aren't trending to Miami right now. But I mean, again, let's go back to relationships to DeMarcus Van Dyke. I mean, he's a guy that deserves just so much credit in this recruitment. He's not one of the 10 on-field staffers, but he is a guy that has developed maybe the best relationship of anybody on the Miami staff with Kormani McLean and his mom and his camp, his family. And, I think ultimately the relationship won out. And, it's about trust. It's about a lot of those things. And I think DeMarcus Van Dyke, with how long he's been involved in this Kormani McLean recruitment, he was the cornerbacks coach last year, the Manny Diaz era, took a step back to stay at Miami, his alma mater. He's very passionate about the university and about building relationships. And I think that is ultimately what helped Miami seal the deal here. I mean, just what a big-time recruitment. I don't think it was something anyone was expecting. And again, I think that's the way Mario Cristobal and this staff would prefer to operate.
Gaby, you mentioned working in the shadows. I believe your podcast is called Through the Smoke. So a lot of misdirection right now with Miami.
Yeah.
But one thing that is not misdirected, and that would be Kormani McLean's presence in this class. He's going to be the face and the headliner of this class. How much does that affect Mario Cristobal's recruiting efforts here in 2023?
Yeah, I think it changes a lot, right? Like, I think it's just something that, again, you're talking about perception, and I feel like recruiting oftentimes can be so perception-based. It's like, oh, if Kormani McLean wants to play at Miami, maybe I should be giving them maybe a deeper look, or what am I missing, or is there something more I need to see with Miami that maybe it's not, popping out with what is it, a 3-4 record, 3-5 record. So I know there's other guys that are already kind of hitting up Miami, be like, hey, if I'm a wide receiver, I kind of want to go up against Kormani McLean every day. Miami's in a deep need of wide receivers. If I'm a cornerback, hey, I kind of want to, lean on Kormani McLean. I kind of want to work alongside him. I want him to lock up one side of the field while I lock down the other. I already think that the Kormani McLean effect is already, they're already seeing the fruits of that. They're already seeing other guys kind of knocking on the door and be like, hey, okay, so what's going on here? I think I'm starting to catch on to this. And again, I think, this is just the beginning of what Mario Cristobal and this staff are hoping to do on the recruiting trail before the early signing day in 7 weeks?
It's creeping up on us. All right, through the smoke, we'll do one last little podcast plug there. All right, Louisville linebacker, anytime. Louisville linebacker commit Stanquan Clark is expected at Saturday's game. So what's the latest in the Hurricanes' efforts to flip him?
Yeah, local product. He played at Miami Killian the last few years. Is a quiet kid. He didn't take a lot of visits. When this new staff kind of got here, they got him on campus once during one of those really, really big recruiting events. They didn't even have their full staff complete. They've been trying to kind of work there. Finally kind of got him on campus. We're able to measure him up, do all those things. He made the move to Miami Central, where, it's a national powerhouse program down here. And he's just really elevated his game as a senior. And I think that has Miami's attention. They're kind of all in on him. He's been to a few Miami games. I believe this will be his third of the fall. So Miami's actively working on that flip right there. Dade County kid, born and bred. So I know he's definitely one Miami would love to keep home. Got to flip him from Louisville. They did a good job of just kind of making him feel like a priority early on in the process, and then obviously did a good job of closing out, picking up that commitment over the summer.
Gaby, Urrutia, thank you so much. You can read more about the big recruiting weekend in Coral Gables online at InsideTheU.com. Blair, I want to bring you back in here. Obviously, the on-field results for Cristobal have left a little bit to be desired. It's easier to sell that hype before they start play. What does the sell look like now when he's going into the living room of some of these recruits saying, that's not us, we're going to move forward, we're going to get better?
Yeah, it's crucial for him to relay that message, right? That they are bringing a different type of athlete to the roster, and that these aren't really essentially his players that he recruited there. And I think that's important to drive home, because if you're thinking about turning a program around and you want to get those on-field results, you have to bring in the type of players that he has been recruiting, the type of players that he has been winning recruiting battles for. You sell immediate playing time, you sell that instant impact potential. There are so many different variables that Mario Cristobal can go to that turns these negative results into a positive recruiting effect. So a lot to look forward to. I'm really interested to see how he closes this 2023 recruiting cycle after being there for nearly a year, and just to see how much of a strong footing he has in that area.